Udala Radio 104.7 FM to make sense of happenings in and around Nigeria. Good morning to you and welcome to the program. My name is Chisom Chinedu, and of course, the past 24 hours have been a lot from the reported capture of an IPOB strongman, like some persons captioned it, Gentle the Yahoo. The man, we saw his video trending a few weeks ago, the video where he spoke about killing members of his gang who went on to perpetrate evil against the people. That man is the one that we are talking about this morning. And of course, other things happened. Yesterday, there was a fire outbreak somewhere in Lagos around Mandalas, which reportedly took down two buildings, one is a four-story building, and then another building. And reports have it that as at 1 a.m. today, the fire was still raging. But I'm not alone in the studio. A lot of more developments. We saw a statement from Uche Kunife's campaign team, or media team rather, coming out to apologize for some of the things that have happened in the past few days, and also deny a particular statement that made rounds a few hours ago concerning an allegation of the paternity of some children of the First Lady of the state. But that statement is out there for the public to see, and of course we are hoping that in the coming days, especially since it is about 52 days to the Anambra State gubernatorial elections, would have more constructive criticisms, would have more constructive talks. You know, yesterday someone said to me, why are we even bothered about what politicians are telling themselves? It's been an age-long tradition in politics. But I told the person that the problems of Nigeria are different from the problems of America. So if America can afford to have politicians talking about trivial matters, we have real life issues to deal with here. And that is what I rather contestants focus on. Franklin, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Kitamakandibuna de kwama.
Dibanyi de kwama, dibegi kwano.
All right, so of course we are glad to be here this very morning for us to do what we know how best to do. And like you mentioned, of course, let's begin with that very apology that came from the media team of Senator Uche Kunife. That's supposed to mean that there is need for us to have a truce and be able to have an atmosphere devoid of filthy politics, so that we can get the substance other than the dwell we have seen so far on less meaningful things. And yesterday I saw a video of Balozibo, who is still nursing ambition or nursing the hope that he can still become the governorship candidate of the APC. Of course, we know he has a case in court. At the first cost of instance, he failed at that very early area, and he went on appeal. So he's still hoping that maybe before the election, the court can recognize him or declare him the rightful candidate of the APC for Anambra gubernatorial election, so that he can go to contest. And he is very hopeful that once that happens, that he can give Abigail a run for the money. So we are watching to see how that is going to happen, or whether he's hoping against hopelessness. And then the fire incident that happened in Lagos, of course, this very morning, or rather last night, UBA came out to offer some clarification, because people were suggesting that that fire incident happened at their corporate headquarters in Lagos, but it is not. It happened at a particular plaza that houses a branch of UBA, and UBA is saying that no casualty was recorded. But from the video we watched yesterday, I had my concern, because I was wondering how a 6-story building was constructed in this modern time if there was no plan for emergency exit in case of fire incident. Take for instance, what happened yesterday was attributed to a fire that came out from the inverter. Now let's assume that the entrance to that very, or the staircase to that very high-rise building was on fire. So could there be any other alternative route through which people can escape, knowing that this is a high-rise building? So I don't know if we do think about emergency plans whenever we are having our building construction. I think it was on this platform that I sometimes talked about how I went into an apartment I wanted to pay for, and then the way it was constructed, I was inside. I was asking myself, in case there is a danger at the door, how would I escape? And that made me to think twice about that very building. So I think we should begin to place emergency plans as a priority whenever we talk about, whenever we're making our construction, especially if it's a public building or even public facility. All right. So I think for now I will sheath my sword when we get into other conversation. Of course, look at other things that have emanated. But before I leave, yesterday we talked about the video that surfaced, linked to the APC governorship candidate. So as of yesterday, the media team of the APC candidate, they've been questioning the supposed CSOs that held a press conference where they demanded that more questions should be asked regarding the so-called 1 billion naira debts. And I think they made a point. The point they made is this: the CSOs should come out and they list themselves. Let's know the CSOs who were involved. Let's also identify the names of people who were involved in that CSO, just so that we'll be able to verify. Because I went through that very CSO report and it was bland and blank. So I'm hoping that in the coming days, those who have been challenged will be able to respond to this very challenge, so that we'll be able to have this very fact to engage more.
Definitely, we are not alone in the studio as always. We have on the analysis desk Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinedu. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, the Anambra. Good morning, the Onitsha. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure to be here. Good morning, the Almighty God, the Savior, for making everything possible for us to see a brand new day. It's not easy to see 17th of September 2025. It's not easy. You wouldn't understand until you visit some places and visit those who couldn't make it. So it's important. We always give our credit to God Almighty for bringing us here. We also say good morning to everyone around. And it's also a pleasure, to look at some of these developing stories. And I have always said, you cannot take home this alone. You have to bring your brother, you have to bring your relation, you have to bring your friend, you have to bring anyone around you to listen to some of the issues we do talk about here. You cannot get it anywhere, but that's true. You cannot get it anywhere. It's exclusively here. So it's important you join us either through your social media handles and on anywhere you can. Please be part of this program, be part of this conclave, be part of this, would I call it? I won't call it Moraba meeting, but then be part of what we're doing here. It's important.
Absolutely. We are live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. We're also streaming live on YouTube at Udala Radio. You can drop your comments right under the post as well. And we're going to go straight to telling you what the front page.
I actually wanted to react to some of these stories that we are actually talking about. I don't know. The first was the apology by Uche Ekwunife. I think if you're a Christian, you remember that there is what Catholics usually say, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So what does that mean? I've sinned, and then I pledge not to sin again. It's important to understand what really happened. I will be also happy with the publication coming from one Tony Ezike, the special advisor to the deputy governorship candidate of APC on media and publicity. It takes a lot of courage for one to apologize. We know very well that the First Lady had issued 72 hours ultimatum for such apology. If thought she's not withdrawn, those statements made against her person, against her name, if those statements are not withdrawn, with apology tendered, definitely she will go straight to the courts to seek redress. But here you have so many people saying that your husband caused all this and your husband caused all that. And we've heard people over time who argued on both sides. I've seen people arguing on the side of the governor saying the governor only questioned the academic credential, which many Nigerians did to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They questioned his Chicago certificate. That someone was saying that it would be hypocritical for anybody who questioned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Chicago certificate to say otherwise, when Governor Soludo is questioning the credentials of Senator Uche Ekwunife, the deputy governorship candidate of APC. That you can't question one here and turn around and say the other one is non-issue. But that's one. But those who have argued on the side of the senator believes that you can still go to court. You don't need to make it a public drama. Yes, you have your right to question, but you can still go to court. As the woman said in one of the videos, go to court. But those who argue the other way around, saying that it does not necessarily mean going to court, because if you go by our laws, the only person that can go to court to challenge this would be, she is a deputy governorship candidate anyway. There's no doubt, because her own was by appointment, and people should also understand this. Deputy governorship candidates are merely by appointment, not by election, not by context. There is no primaries for deputy governorship candidates. No primaries. Once a candidate emerges, he appoints
the person he wants to run with.
Definitely, you don't conduct primaries. But what the law says about questioning credentials, the candidates, if you look at the sections of the Electoral Act, the aspirants who may have contested that election with the person can question those credentials before any court of law, or it could be a pre-election matter you've lodged. But if it has to do with the election, the law has made it possible that it will be only those who are aspirants. But that's by the way. And we saw what happened in the case of the deputy governorship candidate to Leon, who was to be sworn in as the governor of Bayelsa State. He was, in fact, he was doing rehearsal, but there had been issue, pre-election matter lodged against him. And what was it all about? Forgery, forging results. And the man was doing machine parade, how he would inspect the guards of honor and every other thing. A day to swearing in, Supreme Court landed the hammer, disqualified him over certificate forgery. But that's by the way. And the person that was also, caused that was the the governorship candidate or deputy governorship elect. Not even Leon, not even him. He has no blame, but his deputy contaminated the problem.
And that means the deputy's space may not necessarily be, while being appointed, it still is very important.
Definitely. I think that is just that. But, we are looking at the argument back and forth. So I listened to the former National ABGA chairman yesterday, Osam Victoria, and he was emphatic, was saying that the governor did not abuse anybody. He did not say you are this, you are that, you are rag, you are this, you have other. Or he was saying their credentials from Atlantic University in Hawaii, not recognized by United States accrediting agencies, and at the same time is a profit meal or certificate meal. Certificate meal is where you pay in any amount and you get certificate. But that is by the way. But the key thing is the woman has apologized to the first lady, and if you look at the statement, she said that those attacks about paternity, dating Mbadinuju or not dating Mbadinuju, having this affair with Mbadinuju or not, that it did not emanate from her. That's what she said. But the audio conversation we had pointed to something different. But she has also said it did not emanate. Probably the person who was speaking in that audio conversation could be a ghost. But we must give it to her. She said it did not emanate from her. So for the fact she said it did not emanate from her, it did not. If you have any evidence, prove otherwise. But the key thing is, I just looked at the very press release and I saw some level of correctiveness. She may have made a mistake in one way or the other, but she tried as much as possible to correct that. But she said she has been maligned, defamed, disparaged by the governor's media team. Is that the case? The answer is yes. The said publication, according to her, did not emanate from her or her camp, and she further wishes to apologize to the governor, his wife, and the general public who may have been affected by the altercations of the past few days. And she called on her supporters She calls on her supporters to remain focused and avoid any media writing that may suggest altercation with the first family or any other person as she continues with her campaign. I think the Anambra people, both home and abroad, played a role. Even the church played a role. Many spoke to her and told her, you may hate the person who is occupying the office, but don't bring the office down. Even if the person who is occupying the office goes low, don't bring the office down. You know, they gave instances, and we must appreciate those Anambra people who may have played one role or the other, and we must accept this apology. We must accept this apology. You remember, I have always said something about respecting constituted authority. Is it in the Bible? If you go to some Bible verses, you will see some kings and some queens that did worse, but God visited them in his own way. But in the same Bible, God asks you respect them, not because they are undented, or not because that you cannot go on and malign them, or not because of anything, but because they represent the people. A constituted authority is a constituted authority. But that's why some people will tell you, would you say this to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? That was why I said when Showore said Mr. President is a criminal, and I said he went overboard. And I think we may look at the case filed by DSS yesterday before a federal high court on the same issue. I guess we bring it up and we look at what the law stipulates or provides. But I said no matter what, you may not hold Showore with the instrumentality of the law, but he went overboard by calling Mr. President a criminal, and also reminded people that Mr. President, at a point when he was campaigning in 2019, called I think Jonathan, and when he was running campaign in 2010 or thereabouts, expired meat, and then called Obasanjo a particular name. But I also said you wouldn't, because President Bola Tinubu made those statements at those times, encourage Showore to make the same statement he's making against him now. Two wrongs can never make right. That's my view, and that's my opinion on that issue about Uche Kunife tendering her apology.
Chisom, before you come in, Tony, just a little clarification, because that very apology that came from Senator Uche Kunife, it was talking about an article which was written by some persons alleging that the First Lady had children for Chief Chris Oba. I think that was the one she was particular about that she mentioned. So I think the issue of I don't think she's been able to deny that the voice we heard in the video that circulated, or in the audio that circulated, wasn't her voice. That's number one. The number two is just to ask a question, because I know that in politics, people can throw different kinds of things. That's something that somebody told me one time ago. I think that should be Chibuzo Biako, when he was contesting for House of Reps, North and South. I can recall that we were on platform with him, Ifeanyi Bezim and Obinachi Doka, and they were having banters. It was like a debate. They were having banters. At the point, Obina looked at Chidoka and looked at Ibez and said, "I ain't about no money. More abonyo gidi. Go up from batete. Manaka asise akonanse asise fenajo. I get fairly ajo." So in politics, this kind of thing, of course, is going to happen. But where we now have issue is when people begin to go for personal attacks
or bring in families.
And of course, if you find a default in the qualification of your opponent, you might be able to push it out for people to utilize. But my question is this: is it within the concern of the governor of Anambra State to point out that the deputy governorship candidate of the APC, a questionable PhD certificate as he claimed, should that worry him, or it should be a worry for the party that fielded her candidacy?
Remember, in a context,
because if they're going to disqualify, it's going to be APC that is going to lose.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. In the case of David Leon of Bayelsa State, it was PDP that went about it. Sometimes the party ignores those things for one reason or the other. maybe the person is anointed candidate, or the person bought his way through. And in so doing, people will make such comment and say, if we go on, if we continue with this, look at what we may likely face. I was told that in the case of David Leon, the deputy governor, that there were concerns raised by the party, but the party hierarchy put it aside, that it does not matter, that they will defend it in court, that he who alleges must prove. And PDP went to court and we were able to prove it to the level of Supreme Court. And that was how D. Dore became governor. He did not win that contest. It was on utter disqualification of the joint ticket caused by the deputy governorship candidate of APC, who presented a forged certificate. But that is by the way. Why? I think I have answered the question. PDP brought it up because those who raised it within APC camp, they raised it, but APC dismissed it because of some vested interest. That is one. And another thing is this: if anybody comes to issue or comes out for elected position, we must probe the person's background. It's not something a governor should do, or the people of the state should probe the background of the person who is coming to manage a common patrimony. The money governors should pretend is not their money, it is our money. It's just like you are bringing an account officer, your personal account officer, who you may have heard one story or the other, you say I don't care, and the person will manage your finances. So it's important we probe. It can come from anybody, not necessarily the governor, anybody. If you have anything against the governor, bring it up, because he's also a candidate. If you have any debt, look around him from his time as a lecturer in UNN till his time as a consultant at the World Bank, when he was economic advisor to President Obasanjo, to the moment he became the CBN governor. If you have anything against him, please bring it up, and it is something we are going to talk about. And another thing, if you have anything against any of these candidates, people are saying, why are you bringing this thing up? Is it because of election? It is more important that it's because of election. They are coming to manage a common patrimony. You may ignore some of these things because it does not concern you. It is not a concern to you because that person, policies, behavior, conduct, everything the person does while in there will determine your destiny. Somebody who is coming to manage your destiny, you have every right to bring up anything that you feel that will make that destiny not to be well or properly managed. So people who are saying that is it because of election that these things are coming, it is the only time it must come. That is one. So I have been able to say this, but for me, where I'm concerned is it forgery? Is it fake? Somebody may have worst academic qualification. It does not show that the person may have bad leadership management. I've cited many American presidents that did not go through formal education, but they were able to make their mark. They did not pass through formal education. In fact, they were taught at home or they learned informally, but they made great marks. Issue of having poor academic qualification is not really my concern. My concern is when it is fake, when it's forged, it becomes a criminal issue.
You know, I keep wondering why we fall into the trap of faking academic records, especially where we run a constitution that doesn't even hinge anything on this. I mean, the last president we had, what was his qualification again?
The issue is not how poor or how low.
That's what I'm saying. Why do we even get pressured into these fake certifications when our system doesn't care?
That is not the point. That's
it's not
why,
like the constitution put it anywhere.
yes,
If you don't have a degree,
if you
can't be this or
if
that.
you have SSCE, it's enough.
Why the forgery?
Why? No, the issue is, I don't know. People would like to bring in.
You know that even when you don't have SSE certificates
you
and you have worked in certain categories of life, and you can read and write, and I can certify that you can read and write, you are still qualified by what the law of the land provides. And just for me to add to what Tony said, regarding if you think that any of these very candidates who are contesting for this Anambra Gubernatorial election is not qualified by the virtue of academic qualification or on any other ground, maybe on the issue of forgery or what have you, not maybe false declaration of age or any other thing, or even documents. If you check section 285 of the 1999 Constitution, then check section 133 of the Electoral Act, it allows you, either as a voter, as a candidate, as an aspirant, as a party, to go to court and challenge that qualification.
Basically, as a Nigerian.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
In a pre-election suit. So you can do that.
It's important for us to know somebody who is coming to manage your destiny. You should check all the T's, check all the I's, and ensure that they are crossed, they are dotted. So
we are sure doing that.
But the most important thing is we must appreciate Uche Kwinife for the
bold step she took.
She took a bold step. Many people wouldn't have done this. You must appreciate her for this apology, at least. And I would also suggest that people who are maligning her should desist. Please, I will want decorum. But on the issue of her academic record, she still have the opportunity to prove truly if actually it was gotten from Certificate Mill University, where you don't do anything, you pay money and you are giving certificate, and if that university is recognized, if it is not recognized by NUC, anything not recognized by NUC means it's fake.
All right.
But as it's left to be determined anyway.
We haven't told you what the front page is saying, and we need to quickly do that. Probably picking some of the most important headlines. And on the Tribune newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune, actually, this morning, the banner headline here on page 3 says, "How Buhari's government destroyed economy." Dogara is the one making that statement. It says ex-president's administration's printing injection of 22.7 trillion naira destroyed in naira value. You know, it looks like we haven't properly recovered from the impact of that naira supposed currency change that eventually had us going back and forth. And I remember up until today, Tony, we still haven't had any concrete, what I call it, report on how the monies that we are supposed to have been sent back, what happened to them, and how much was actually printed and how much was spent in the printing. How many years down the line, and zero accountability. But of course, Nigerians have become almost so used to phenomena like that. Pueblo unveils a transformative education reforms in Edo on page 16. Customs consults Finance Ministry on alternatives following suspension of 4% import levy on page 27. Upsurge in Lassa fever cases as deaths hit 162 in August. That's from the NCDC on page 26. UBA Foundation flags of 2025 National Essay Competition on page 3. Petrol from Dangote Refinery arrives USA for first time on page 3 as well. And on the health column of the Nigerian Tribune, cannabis use may quadruple risk of developing diabetes. A study has said that on page 4. CPPE urges policy mix to sustain inflation decline, boost growth on page 5. NIPOST intercepts cannabis concealed in Lagos consignment from Thailand on page 26.
My grandma would say, like where somebody could have sent cannabis, from outside the country as a parcel to NIPOST. And that tells you how people have divide different means of smuggling illicit drugs.
I think it's that mindset. If it's in the open, nobody's looking for it.
Yeah, because now do you know that people these days they buy things like noodles, dispose the noodles and use the pack of noodles to hide drugs. People now use courier services to deliver drugs. I mean, they have devised different means to do all these things. Even people buy bags, travel bags, find a way of slitting the bags, hide these things inside the bag, and then resew again. Even somebody would even give you as a parcel to give to somebody in the US. You wouldn't even know that this is illicit. So we should shine our eyes, because Nandeba is now if now let's go over to the Punch newspaper. We have the banner headline here. It says FG unveils agric reforms, moves to create 21 million jobs. The story is on page 2 of Punch newspaper. It has the writers. Fresh incentives will boost food production. Free Nigerians from seasonal dependency. Shatima is the one saying so. AF and others endorse measures, seek timely intervention. Women farmers tax FG on loans, others. Then beside the nameplate, we have the banner headline that says all reforms drive $18.2 billion deals. Federal government is the one saying so. The story is on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Above the nameplate, Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short parade leave. The story is on page 20. I've been seeing headlines about cutting short his leave. It was meant to be 10 days, was it not? And he left on September 4, and he came back yesterday. So did he cut anything? Yesterday was 15. And then let's get to another headline. Mama pushes for tariff hike, airlines kick. The story is on page 22. Army arrests notorious IPOB commander in Imo. The story is on page 2 of Punch newspaper. Then this one says how Nigeria can attain global power. Sonwolu. If you look at that, you see picture story of Sonwolu and some other persons on a picture story. Don't derail Awujale's election. Council wants rolling houses. It's on page 7 of Punch. 4 hospitalized as fire got 2 Lagos buildings. The story is on page 4 and 8 of Punch newspaper. And the final one, FG predicts fresh flooding in Lagos, 13 others. The story is on page 2. All these predictions coming, I hope we make use of the predictions, because Adamawa 2 days ago, of course, came under the flooding, and we are counting destruction from the flooding there.
It's still a very sad development, and this is 2025, and every time the heavens drop a tear, or probably, however the heavens decide to cry, we are running helter-skelter, despite all the ecological funds that we keep marking. On the Vanguard newspaper, Rivers hopes mixed views as emergency ends tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually going to be, fingers crossed, a lot of persons are looking forward to it. On page 5, the story has a couple of writers, but I'll just let it slide. Let's look at the other headlines here. Private depots deserted as Dangote refinery begins direct fuel supplies on page 19. Experts disagree as presidency says inflation will drop to single digit on page 20. Bandit commander Ado Alero kills traditional ruler in Safi Zamfara on page 9. NINSIM linkage reduces fraud, boosts national security. President Tinubu on page 8. FG drags Shawari Facebook X to court over criminal posts against Tinubu on page 6. And of course, Shawari has also countersued. Lagos key to attaining Nigeria's global influence on page 10. Sonlu. Food security, FG unveils new agri investment incentives on page 8. Nigerian profs earn gardeners 3-hour pay, XOAUVC, Abimbola on page 10.
Okay, that story about bandit commander Ado Alero kills traditional ruler in the Southeast Zamfara state. This story came out yesterday, and just 2 days after there was a peace meeting in Katsina State with the bandits, and this particular Alero was there. In fact, he was the one who spoke on behalf of the bandits, and there was one other notorious bandit who is number 16 on the wanted list of the military, and he was also there. And if you see the picture coming up from there, you see how he had done himself with different kinds of ammunition to come for a peace meeting, and he was there bragging. And that tells you that we have found a way to pamper bandits. So if we're thinking that we can end banditry in the nearest future, we are far from being that. We're far from that. Then, over to Gather newspaper. Insider threats, low confidence, hobble, $14 billion aviation target. Check page 6 of the Gather newspaper. Atiku meets U.S. convoy in Abuja. Plays tribalism in Nigeria is on page 4. Food, transport, housing, others remain key inflation drivers. The story is on page 4. And just to react to what presidency said, because yesterday Top FSO was on TV where he was saying that the government is driving towards ensuring that inflation drops to single digit, and I was asking how would that be possible in a country where we are so import dependent? Everything depends on what we import. What are we exporting that can help to drive down this very inflation? And then PDP throws 2027 presidential ticket open to all regions. The story is on page 4. What does that mean? Is that a contrary view or stance in respect to what a committee has proposed? Tinubu returns as Fubara set for reinstatement. LP seeks emergency rule probe. Check page 6. FG is insensitive to doctors' welfare. NMA reiterates. Is on page 7. Showore files counter suit as DSS sees him. X Meta over anti-Tinubu post. Is on page 5. International Day. Lagos warns against using ozone depleting gases for refrigerators. Others. Check page 7. Crude output improves as Nigeria record first full pipeline availability in 20 years. That's massive. It's on page 28. And the final headline here says, Obi decries normalization of violence as Kwara youths make distress call. It's on page 29 of Guardian newspaper.
And absolutely, those are some of the stories you'd find on the papers. You could decide to pick up copies of them, so read digital copies to find out details of those stories. But we are going to be having a very call it a brief analysis today, because I mean, looking at the time that we have left, Tony, the arrest of ESN commander Gentle the Yahoo was reported yesterday. Now, according to reports, he was arrested by men of the Nigerian army. His real name is Ifeanyi Eze Okorienta, and according to reports, he was captured in his hideout at Akuihube, Okigwe local government area of Imo State, by troops of the 34 Artillery Brigade in a joint operation with sister agencies. According to the military, the operation led to the recovery of several exhibits, a cache of weapons, including one English pistol, 120 rounds of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition, 25 rounds of 7.62 NATO, a cartridge, 6 mobile phones, military and police uniforms, most importantly, as well as a German flag. First, I recall the one time some were captured up north. It was a Russian flag found with them. Do these flags have any significance, especially when there have been allegations about the terrorism we suffer inside the country being externally sponsored?
I think you just witnessed the reports making rounds yesterday, where I saw publications on social media, especially I think on Facebook, where one Gentle the Yahoo, known very well as Ifeanyi, I think he's known well as Gentle the Yahoo, just like you pointed out earlier on. His name is Ifeanyi Eze Okorienta. Yes, multiple reports described him as the commander of ESN, and he's been operating in Imo State, especially Okigwe local government area, Akuihube, in the Okigwe Aku region. And he has been in fact, there has been quite allegations against him, and some videos we've seen: kidnappings, highway robberies, extortion of traders. The last video we saw was where he was executing his own group members for alleged betrayal, disobedience, or failure to account for proceeds. There had been reports where he was seen killing people in his community, where he reacted to alleged grievances, the killing of his brother and burning of his parents' home. I saw videos where he lamented that his brother was killed and his parents' home was also burnt. And there was this report if he was actually arrested by the Nigerian Army, the 34 Artillery Brigade, or Imo State, with other security agencies at his hideout in Akihube. But just like you pointed out earlier on, there were some seizures made. Yeah, you know, we've seen him doing military camouflage in most of the videos he has made. I've watched some of these videos. I wouldn't say I've not watched. And there was a time he made this scathing allegation that some communities called them to protect them against Fulani headers.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And in doing so, the communities provided some of the weapons they're using, gave them money to provide security for them. And they began providing security for these communities, only for these communities to turn their way back to start attacking them. And there was a time he threatened that he will list people that gave them money, provided weapons for them. But he didn't go on to list them because everyone was interested to know those who had supported him before this drama. So the Nigerian Army 82 Division, because the 34th Artillery Brigade works under the 82 Division Enugu, they came out to say that yes, that they raided the hideouts. In fact, it was a commando style, according to them. Commando style in the sense that they did not drive there with armored personnel carrier or helicopter. That the troops, the soldiers, trekked for almost 4 hours to get to the vicinity of where he was with the intelligence report they have got. And immediately they got to that area, they trekked for 4 hours. You know what it means to trek for 4 hours? The idea of trekking was that if their coming would not be noticed. And immediately they arrived at the scene, they cordoned off that area. They rounded the area and made announcement to them that they have been surrounded, that they should come down and surrender. But while they were making such announcements, their fighters were at the top roof of the building and opened fire. I'm just narrating the story of Nigerian Army. That these fighters opened fire on the troops, and the troops returned fire for fire. But when the troops discovered that they were having protective shield at the roof, they felt that the best thing to do was to set the building ablaze. And immediately they set the building ablaze. They were now forced to jump from that roof. In the process of jumping from the roof, many of them were killed. They said that 2 males and 2 females fighters were killed, and these male fighters and female fighters were seen at the roof shooting sporadically at the troops. So what they had going for them was the moment they set the building ablaze, so they were forced to jump out because fire would definitely catch up with them. So they were forced to jump out from that building. In jumping out from the building, they were killed. In fact, one was jumped out and was to scale a fence. In the process of trying to scale that fence, he was killed. He was shot at the back and he died at that spot. So it tells you a lot. And he, the spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, also commended the communities that they really helped a lot. But the issue of whether Gentle the Yahoo was among those killed, the army said that they would have to perform autopsy on the corpses, that they have all the corpses, 4 of them. But they said that the community immediately identified the 2IC. You know what is 2IC? Second in command. So they identified the 2IC. I think the name is also popular. I don't, maybe I'll start for his name. That they confirmed the 2IC. But for them not to immediately confirm the death of Gentle Yahoo, because his face is known everywhere, I guess he was not one of those killed. For them to confirm the death of the 2IC, not confirming that of Gentle Yahoo, I felt he was not one of those killed. So it's important we understand that it has always been like this. So the names are there, and I must also let you know that there have been many people killed, executed by this notorious gang. I must let you know they had conducted kidnappings, roadblocks, and some reports put the number of people killed in that community at over 200 people in response to alleged provocation of his brother's death and the burning of his parents' house. These 2 incidents made him to say that people must pay for the death of his brother. And according to some reports, over 200 people have been killed. Many kidnapping issues, many reprisals, attacks, and all what have you not. So I have the timeline of when some of these things happen, but time will not permit us to go into that.
So the question is, pardon me, Franklin.
Okay.
All of these things have happened over the years, and this man has always brandished his face, talked about his operations on social media, and he's not easily been gotten to. And for a man whose face is that popular, we are not certain of his whereabouts. That's what we're being told.
That's what it is. That is what it is. And remember, if we can't say where he is right now, those areas are also in danger. the death of his brother resulted to the killing of over 200 people in many ways. Now his fighters have been killed. His own house, or where he operates, I don't know whether the house belongs to me, was set ablaze, and we cannot confirm is a real danger. Let me be honest with you, it's a real danger. We must commend the Nigerian soldiers for this monumental kill for justice, a thunderbolt of resolve by our gallant armed forces. Honestly, striking at the very heart of impunity. We must commend them. It's not easy to trek for hours, according to what they told us.
But so Tony, it's quite good that you were able to point out the fact that for now it's uncertain whether the person being mentioned was killed or not, because I went through the statement which was released by the army, and I was trying to see a categorical statement that this is how we're able to identify that this is the person who was killed. So that has been sorted. The other part of it is this issue of I've seen reactions even on social media where people are saying that the media has to a great extent mislabeled the person in question, that he's not an IPOB member. So why is the media in their writing referring to him as an IPOB member? For them, they're saying that for them, this is a dent on what they represent, because the man in question does not represent the ideals of the IPOB. And now, so my question is going to is there any verifiable record we can lay our hands on now to say that there was at some point in time that the IPOB denied affiliation with this very man in question?
I think this man, Yahoo the Gentle the Yahoo, at a point I've seen a video he made, and he said that they were working under one Ikonso or something like that. I've seen a video, I spotted the video where he said they were working under Ikonso, that Ikonso was their commander. And remember how Ikonso was killed by the Nigerian army. So the moment Ikonso was killed, and so many of them that were working directly under him, they had their own spaces. So the question is, who is Ikonso? Who was Ikonso working for? But I have spotted a video where this Yahoo the Gentle, or Gentle the Yahoo, I think I prefer to call him Yahoo the Gentle, where he made it known that they were once under one Ikonso. So if we are able to point out who Ikonso was, who Ikonso was working for, we'll be able to answer this question. But there are people who have said that IPOB has factions, those under Iba, Simon Iba, and those under Nnamdi Kanu. There are those who have tried to ostracize Nnamdi Kanu from Dix, saying that this man or Yahoo or Gentle or whatever his name is does not work for him. Probably he's working under Iba. So these things are left to be said. I think the least arithmetic we can do to arrive at this answer, the question he put, the answer is, the only thing I can spot, the man said he was once working under a console. And if you can really code or put it out who Ikonso was and who he was working for, we can say where he belongs.
All right, then let's go on to other matters. One of them being Shawore counter-suing. According to reports, he has sued the DSS, Meta, and X. X, formerly Twitter, Meta, owners of Facebook and WhatsApp, over attempts to delete anti-Tinubu post. Recall that when he made that post, the DSS sued him. And we were asking, is this what the DSS is now for, suing people who malign the character of the president? Isn't that suit supposed to be coming from the office of the president? Well, presently Shawore has filed fresh suits at the Federal High Court Abuja against the persons I mentioned, or the institutions I mentioned earlier, over attempts to censor his social media posts critical of President Tinubu. This was disclosed in a statement signed by his lawyer, Tokwe Temokun, which he uploaded on Facebook yesterday. Tony, he's counter-suing. I asked earlier when we first had this conversation what the DSS was suing him in the first place, and of course what the law on hate speech says, and of course where what Shawore actually did or what he said stands. If I recall vividly, I recall that day you said it wasn't something you would want us to itemize word for word, but a summary is that he called the president a criminal.
Yes, he called Mr. President a criminal, and he contextualized it. He didn't call Mr. President a criminal without context. he contextualized it based on Mr. President's statements
yes,
in Brazil that there is no corruption in Nigeria under his watch. Now, remember, for me as a person, I don't like that statement made by Showery. But I can also tell you the provisions of the law, or what the law says.
That's what I'd like
to
hear.
That's one thing. Now, you remember, DSS had given Meta, that is the owners of X Corporation, that is Twitter, 72 hours to pull that tweet or delete it, and even Meta that owns Facebook, and then X Corporation, Twitter. Because they made those statements on these two platforms, and both of them say that it falls within the ambit of free speech, expressing political opinion, and for them there is nothing totally wrong with the statement credited to Showery. And for the fact that Meta and X Corporation are not thinking in the line of DSS, they have gone to Federal High Court to bring a suit against Showery on 5 count charges. 5 count charges, and I think the charges are synonymous. One has to do with Facebook, one has to do with Twitter, and one has to. And I look at the counts, I look at the charge. I think I'll be able to read it out if I have it, and then let me quickly look for the charge made by DSS against Showery. And if you look at that, they maintain that he made a false statement, or a statement believed to be false, and at the same time with national security connotation, with intention to incite and bring discord which will affect national security. It's important that we understand these issues the way they are, and you ask yourself this question: what does the law say on these issues? 1, he who alleges must prove. That is number 1. And what is DSS alleged? And if you look at the law, they are relying on this suit. They are relying on the Cybercrime Act of 2015. That's the law they are relying on in this suit they have brought against Mr. Showery. So remember, the post was made sometime around August 25 and 26, and the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act, though it was amended in 2024, but 2015 is mostly referenced as far as this is concerned. If you look at the counts, they say that on or about 25 of August 2025, using your Twitter handle, you posted a message calling Mr. President a criminal, accusing him of lying about corruption being ended, knowing it was forced, and posting it with intention to cause breakdown of law and order among people with different political views, contrary to Section 24, subsection 1B of the Cyber Crimes Amendment Act. The counts are just almost the same. If you look at count 4, talking about defamation via the Facebook and then X post. Count 5, publishing false information with intent to cause public fear, disturbance, especially among people with divergent views. These things are similar. Now, just like I said earlier on, if you look at what that section 24 subsection 1B of the Cybercrime Act, let's use 2024 as amended, what does it say? That is the area people believe that it is in consonant, or it is inconsistent with the provision of section 39 of the Constitution, where you make false statements with the intent to cause annoyance, nuisance. That's just that. Remember, it's a state law, it's a criminal law. It's important we understand that. So I have asked this question. People have said that DSS shouldn't have done this, that it is the president. If the president is defamed, he should be the one that will go for such defamation. We have 2 types of defamation. We have criminal defamation and civil defamation. In the case of civil defamation, the person defamed approaches court in the case of criminal defamation, the state, it could be the DSS, it could be the police, now approaches the court on that case because they are linking it to issue of security, public safety, public orderliness, and that is where DSS is coming on this. So do they have jurisdiction based on the law they have cited and based on the references they're making? They have jurisdiction before the court. That is one. That is two. Then now looking at the content, I don't want to preempt what the courts will rule, but one thing is this: they must prove all these allegations they made against Showore. One, they must prove that what Showore said is false to start with, because they said that it is a false statement. What Showore said in that tweet, is it false or true? And Showore is saying that corruption still persists.
And you trust the judiciary so much that you expect it to do a very thorough
definitely, but
job
definitely
in the angle you are coming
the
from.
lawyers are there because you said that what Showore said is a false statement. You must prove how false it is. Showore said corruption still persists under your watch. In fact, if you look at different indices, when you talk about corruption indices, you can quite understand that Showore will be smiling wherever he is. Noting that I'm not preempting the judiciary, but I know that Showore, wherever he is, he will be smiling. That DSS said that his post is false, and they are the DSS will be the one that will prove how false is his statement that there is no more corruption in Nigeria, which Mr. President said, which Mr. President Showore countered. That is one. And they must also go on to prove that his statement has impact on national security. Is another thing they must prove, because they link it to national security. You must show incidents and what impact. These two things you must show. I and what I. The first I is what? Incident. The second I is what? Impact. You must show the two. You must prove that statement, there was an incident where it affected national security. You must also prove there was an impact on national security. You must prove this too. And then I think the last one, they must also prove, because it's important, it's not just to go to court, it's not who runs to court first.
He must go to
that is it. So we know that under the National Security Agencies Act, Cap 74, Laws of the Federation 2004, we know that their mandate, the DSS mandate, which includes preventing and detecting crime against internal security, such as threat to public order or even the presidency. So I have just cited that connotation, that link they made between the tweet and the national security, it must be proven before court. And it's not just proven, it must be proven beyond reasonable doubt. People do not even understand the language of the court. One is to prove something. Two is to prove it to the extent that it has gone beyond reasonable doubt. People don't understand that word, reasonable doubt. So you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt. So they have got so much work to do. I'm telling you, the DSS have got so much proofs to make. So for wherever story is, I don't know. We are not going to preempt what the court will rule or what the court will say. It is there for the court to decide. But what I have said is DSS have got one or two things to prove before the court. And until they do that, Showore will not enter the fence, because once they have been able to prove or establish a significant proof, the court will ask Showore to go into defense. If they are able to prove it, Showore will file no case submission. No case, and there is no case here.
So Tony, it's quite tricky because Showore has been, in fact, ever since I began to hear his name, he's been synonymous with having loggerheads with different kinds of security agencies. I can recall that training I went for in Abuja last year about human rights reporting. He was the resource person who was brought in to talk about activism and human rights and what have you not. And I watched his demeanor, the way he handled that very course. Now let's not get to this issue, because it's not easy, like you pointed out, that it's not easy for you to prove defamation, just like the way it's not easy for you to prove rape, for a man to go to court and prove rape. This is a very they're quite different based on the way they were codified in the criminal and the penal code. that maybe DSS knows that this is a tough task to prove. Perhaps that's why they have injected the section 242 of the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Act, which was amended in 2024. Perhaps they have added this, saying, okay, if we can get it easy on this very side, maybe we'll be able to see how we can rope it in using this. So do you see that as a tactical move from DSS?
Just like I explained in my analysis, the only defamation the police can prosecute before any court is criminal defamation. And I remember there are those who have argued that we must delist criminal defamation from our laws. That is against free speech, is oppressive, is suppressive. You understand what is going on in Imo State now, where the former secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association has been invited by the Commissioner of Police, Imo State Command, and I saw a press release by Afam Osigwe, the president of the Nigerian, or the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, where he mentioned something similar to this. But that's by the way. Now, DSS can only go to court with this law they have cited. That's the only thing they can go to court with. Outside this very thing they have cited, I don't think there's any other law they can rely on approaching a court. And they have just relied on the Cybercrime Act 2015 as amended in 2024, where they have quoted section 24 subsection 1b of that very law, and have just explained or summarized the law. If you make the word there is false messaging, if you made false online messaging, one, it must be false with intention to cause annoyance, to cause disturbance, cause this, cause that. So you must be able to prove, because that very statement, that tweet made by Showere, one, it is false. You must prove it. And you must also, where they link it to national security, just like I said, you must be able to look at the eye and eye, the incident and the impact. You must prove the eye and eye. It's going to be difficult. I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm not going to preempt what the court will come up with, but it is a difficult task before DSS for them to prove all these things before court. So it was a tactical move according to your question, because that's the only thing they can rely on. I've listened to people that have said, DSS has no jurisdiction. Why would they sue Chowere for defaming Mr. President? And is DSS Mr. President and all that? And I've been able to explain that it falls under criminal defamation. If they wouldn't have relied on civil defamation law or of any state, or even that of Civil Defamation Act of the Federation. They couldn't, because they don't have jurisdiction on that one. But as far as it's criminal defamation, they have jurisdiction. But the matters they have pointed out earlier, the charges, the five of them, it is going to be difficult for them to prove it before the court. But I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm not going to preempt them. So it's left for the court. It's a matter before the court. So let's allow the court to make their rulings. But I'm going to tell you that Chowere has also filed a countersuit. So you can imagine, so these are things he likes.
Does that mean that he prepared the papers, or he prepared the suit and was waiting for DSS to react? Because he's filing in less than 24 hours after DSS filed its own high.
What I have to say,
do you know why? Do you know why Chowere filed the countersuit? If they withdraw this one, he's still going to use his own to hold them back. You are not going anywhere. We go die here. Because remember, the DSS that are fighting suits, if they go back and forth, it's becoming difficult for them. They can withdraw the suit. But Chowere is saying, you are not going to come out from this. That is why he filed countersuit. So you cannot escape from this. So all right, that's what he has done.
Well, tomorrow is going to be the 18th of September 2025, exactly 6 months after the suspension of River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Yesterday, the president returned from his trip, and also Fubara is expected to also return from London, where he's been for quite some time now. There are talks and projections about how tomorrow is going to pan out. Franklin, I think yesterday you asked if Mr. President had intentionally, when the report of cutting down his trip or cutting short his trip came up, if he was exclusively for the case of been around for this supposed reinstatement, Tony. What are your expectations? We are barely less than 24 hours away.
We are going to see the escalation of the impunity. For me, all these things are impunity. Remember one thing. We are told Mr. President will be out for how many? I think 2 weeks. For
10 working days.
10 working days. That's working days, but if you calculate it, when you are given a leave and they mention working days, it means Saturday and Sunday are excluded. They are only talking from Monday to Friday. So if you hear 10 working days, that's 2 weeks. 10 working days imply 2 weeks because you are counting from Monday to Friday. Saturday is not a working day. Sunday is not a working day. So if we put them and put all those things, it's just 2 weeks. But that's by the way. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: why Mr. President may have cut his trip could be to see to transitioning of this government, the sole administratorship, that's the military government, into civilian government. And remember, like I said last time we were here, our judiciary for good 6 months could not give us answer to questions raised before them by vested interest, by some parties, PDP, governors. God, they went to Supreme Court to find out where in our laws can we find suspension of governor, appointment of sole administrator, and where the sole administrator went further to conduct
a local government
election. We are in our law.
Well, while it's not in our laws, and we have determined this over and over, it's been a serious aberration from what the norm should be. And for 6 months we've endured. There have been calls for IBAS to give account for a probe. LP is asking. Other vested interested parties are also asking. Do you see that request coming from the man who sent him on the errand?
The thing is, I don't know. The man who was on errand has said that he has fulfilled the mandate. And what was the mandate? To conduct local government election. That was expressly the mandate given to him so that it will be under the control of Mr. President. 2 years on week. And he has said he's fulfilled. And he has gone to Thanksgiving. He has gone to church to say Thanksgiving. God, thank you for allowing me to fulfill this mandate. And he has brought some respite, succors to people of River State. So whatever you are trying to make out of it, he was the one who was sent. But it leaves so many questions. Many questions. And Mr. President, according to some reports, I don't know how verifiable that report could be. I don't know why he has cut down his number of days he wanted to spend on his annual vacation. Could be to see to this transitioning. It could be one of the reasons. So we are going to see how these things pan out. We are going to watch. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the day. We are told that Ebas Ekwe has handed over his.
Why the stress of Ekwe?
Is it not part of his name? It's not part of his name. He has written his handover notes, and he has detailed all the money that came in while he was there as the sole administrator, and all the expenditures he made. So he has detailed everything. He is going to hand those things over to Mr. President. So I'm wondering, tomorrow, by the time he's handing over, because he's not handing over to Fubara, he's handing over these things, documents, to Mr. President. I guess Mr. President will hand over this. But we are in our law is this practice.
Let me also add, because Chisom raised the question, coming from LP and some other concerned person in Rivers, saying that his time as the sole administrator should be probed. And I've been asking myself, who is going to probe? Who is going to constitute the panel? Is it the bottled Fubara or the National Assembly, which has been in the armpit of Mr. President? We know how the emergency rule in River State was declared. The president had gone ahead to declare before even going to National Assembly to seek
consent
approval for that. And we know how they did this shenanigan of constituting a panel that is going to oversight what is happening in River State. So what did they oversight? when the man bought a budget, how did they oversight the budget? So the issue of probe is just like, let's shout.
Let's be talking.
Let's be talking.
Let it be that we are talking, that we are not.
I don't see any action happening because the man who is going to take the action is already in the bottle.
Fubara is coming back as a lame dog, politically lame dog. That's the word. His wings have been clipped. In fact, some of the commissioners that he was going to run with, they have been made available to him. So he's going to choose from the pool of the persons given to him. And somebody was actually saying that a counselor can walk up to him and tell him, Mr. Man, you don't know what you're doing. Mr. Man, get out of here. These people may not have whatever you call political loyalty to him. So they are on their own. Everybody knows that Wike is the de facto governor of Rivers State. De facto. Fubara could be the jury governor, but Wike is de facto. The powers have left him. He's here. He's going to be a ceremonial governor.
No, totally.
But he can award contracts anyway. But the contracts he's going to award, or before he does anything, he must get permission anyway. He must get permission.
No, totally. There was something I raised on this web platform some time ago. This is not to concede that what happened in River State was legal or not. It was totally illegal. But I'm trying to look at the other side too, because we're talking about the ideal democracy in Nigeria, whereby the three arms of government should be independent and should be able to serve as checks and balances on one another. Then we should also have a local government that is autonomous, whereby they get their monies, they get their fund, and be able to use their fund without anybody interfering. So I'm looking at the other side and trying to see a light in a dark room in any way. So is it possible that what we have in Rivers now, where Fubara Gage Giant 7 make members of the House Assembly, and those members too will also use 14 eyes to be looking at him, then those at local government level will also be looking at him somewhere, somehow, knowing that their loyalty lies to somebody else,
not him.
So how then does he call them to order when they are not performing right?
No, it's not.
You are going far.
No, it's not.
Call who to order?
In ideal democracy, it's not the job of the governor to call members of the House to order. They should work in harmony, but they work independently. This should serve as a check on this.
No, she's talking about calling members of the local government to order.
No, under no circumstances. Through funding,
let me
Supreme Court
rephrase.
interpretation.
Okay, finish.
For Supreme Court interpretation of the autonomy local government, they're supposed to work independently, get their fund, and used to work.
But the state assembly oversight the actions of the.
So it's not executive that oversight.
No, it's not executive, but executive most times. You saw what happened in the state where Mondo Bebelu raised concern about a particular local government chairman, and where he thought that the local government chairman, he resorted to the state assembly to cause them to do necessary oversight.
It's not happening in Oshun. Look at how Adeleke, when the local government funds were withheld, how he went about it. So my point is, when you're expected to work in synergy with people and they are loyal to another person. Tony, imagine coming into the studio.
That's why I said.
And I am busy, probably.
That is why I said he's going to be there as a political lame dog. I want to also emphasize something so that we leave this, see how this thing comes out tomorrow. Before we open the phone lines, where I saw a publication where the presidency said that they have lifted 10 million Nigerians out of poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty, sorry. And I want to also let presidency know, when you're talking about multi-dimensional poverty, you are talking about three key things: improving their standard of living, and ensuring they have accessibility when it comes to education and health.
Okay.
Health. It must have been seen that you have provided hospitals across, provided education across, free education, and you have improved. It's not about financial issue. Multi-dimensional poverty is not strictly about having financial problems. So I think those who are releasing this statement from from the presidency, I don't know if they are conversant with what multi-dimensional poverty is all about. I saw that and I felt the need for me to point it out. So it's not about giving people cash or conditional cash transfer, some of those things, and think you are bringing them out of multi-dimensional poverty. That's not true. So you must have seen to have improved their standard of living. You must have provided healthcare facilities. You must have also provided education. I know that the index, I don't want to take time to tell you how these things are calculated. It should be 1/3. These things must have been seen improved 1/3 and 110, it's about 3%. So it's important we mention this.
So just to add, because look at what I was trying to illustrate. If you are working with somebody you know that is not in bed with you, of course, if you of course, if you because you don't want to give the person an opportunity, the person can claw to and then get to pull you down. So what is that possibility that Fubarao will become more careful with the spendings of the state funds? If he's going to make procurement, he ensure that he does that in compliance with the Procurement Act. If you want to spend money, he ensures that there's no default, so that nobody is going to, because what is going to happen now is that members of the state assembly are going to be they're going to be snooping around, and if he has any infraction, of course they can hold on to it in case he wants to rebel tomorrow, so that they can use it against him. So I'm just trying to imagine, okay, would there be any small lights that can come out from this in terms of trying to see what real democracy is, where the three arms of government can function independently, work and also ensure that they mount checks and balances on each other or on one another.
All right, then we're going to take a break at this point to attend to some commercials. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines and you can join the conversation from there on. Do not forget, we are also live on Facebook and YouTube. You can drop your comment right under our post on Facebook.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic. My people, I present to you the most preferred governorship candidate for Anambra State, John Chuma Nwosu of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. John Chuma Nwosu is ready to take Anambra State from insecurity to peace, from regression to progression. Vote John Chuma Nwosu. Vote ADC, African Democratic Congress.
ADC! ADC!
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa kitchen they do yellow. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, that kitchen and do. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Ninta. Wendy's bread, get it better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachchama. Wendy's bread, the champion.
Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Absolutely, the conversation is still on here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, The Polity. We started from conversations talking about the political space here in Anambra State. That apology letter that came from the media team of APC's deputy governorship candidate, Uche Ekunife, and of course down to the reports of a raid in Imo State on the camp of the man who we saw in a video a few weeks ago talking about how he killed some of his boys because they stepped out of the, would I call it, rules of engagement by attacking the locals. And of course a lot of questions have been poked into the reports coming from the army there in Okigwe, Imo State. How do you say that you launched an attack you caught the kingpin, but then you do not know exactly if his body was among those that you have. You need to conduct an autopsy. We've also looked at reports coming from the presidency. We've looked at River State. And most importantly, the question that Tony left before we went on that break. You pull 10 million people out of poverty, multidimensional poverty. Do the realities on ground say the same thing? Join the conversation now. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You have 2 minutes. Please be as objective as possible. Go straight to the point. And of course, turn down the volume on your radio set. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good. Good morning, Olisa Mbeki.
Your welcome is good to have
Good
you.
morning, my friend Franklin. Good morning, house. It's a beautiful day. Let's take advantage of it. Lifetime is beautiful. Now, that's my name. I'm calling you from Udala. There's a state, Oshimiri North local government area, Igbo ethnic nationality among you. Now, I'm sorry. This Tony, you were having fun. Sorry, our Oga is a criminal, and DSS talking about we want something that our Oga, point certificate, fake Chicago, fake drugs, everything, even fake secondary school. DSS didn't find any criminality in that, and it didn't cause any security brouhaha. So what's going on, DSS? And then this kidnapper from the north, I'm sure you saw him well prepared. You know, he went to bargain for peace in the northern part of the country. And then we have this Yahoo, gentle, that has carved a niche for himself among criminals and taking the military on and his neighborhood on. Now this is our country. We have a problem. And if we say, Mrs. Yeah, and Mrs. Soludo, please, I'm not very, very happy. They should think about the children when they decided to play dirty. They must learn to keep some people out of it, especially children. Infants or teenage. They don't have any reason to mess up because we adults decide to mess ourselves up. So if we have to apologize, of course, if they didn't, the Soludos will clean her and take her to the dryers. As for the education team, if you say, just enough, I gave this an arrow, go and bring that certificate, the proper one, and let us know what we're talking about. Meanwhile, shut up! Most of you. So you guys go do the right thing, and my lady, what did my drama?
Thank you, Cousin. All right, then let's hear what you have to say. Good morning. You're on. Good morning. Are you there? I have to let you go now. 0803-221-6973. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Akamera.
Go ahead, Akamera. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Fiji.
Go ahead, please.
On that gentle Yahoo, actually, when I watched the video, when he executed his member, I was not happy. Because if you see the way those children were begging him, yet he executed them. I want to also say something.
I'm sorry, Akamera, you may need to reconnect. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Gentlemen in the studio. My name is David.
Go ahead, David. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Morocco, Anambra West. Yes, I pick on the Fubara issue. Actually, doctor has already just described it the way it is. I just feel for Fubara. Fubara is going to now go to that place as a lame dog. Yes, that is it. because all his wings have been clipped. And that goes to show how the politics we are playing in this part of the world. You know, everybody, this man that is disturbing Fubara, he has been there before, and he has been stubborn to Amechi. Nobody say anything. And my question is, does it mean that the elders of River State, are they just handicapped? Are they handicapped to call these people to order? This thing has been going on. Fubara is elected by the people, and denying the people their fundamental human rights, and the elders are watching. It's so unfortunate. Then as for the so gentle Yahoo, whatever, that is how we can see the security they are giving us. You know, the security apparatus set up by the central government has failed everybody. Yes, they have failed everybody. When there's a case of when a poor man steals Maggie, they will show his face in crime fighter. But they are done criminal, hardened criminals, causing national issues. They went some days in a casino to call bandits, turning in with weapons to come and sit for peace meeting. And then in this part of the world, nothing is being said about it. So unfortunate. I hope that God help. Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Dr. Olisa Mbeki, very good morning to you.
You're welcome, it's good to have you.
And Franklin, Chidi Chukuma joining you from work.
Go ahead, Chidi Chukuma.
Yes, for that suit by DSS, for me, it's just a show of eye service, psycho fancy here. Even if it's a criminal information, why should the DSS bother themselves for that when the person in question have not reacted or make any statement against the person at the show? Why should they come up to engage themselves in such a busybody activities? I think it's just a show of eye service and they also psychophancy, and that is not making them to be so busy for work. They know their work. Let them face their duty and stop wasting people's time, making all this noise. This is the first time people have spoken against somebody in that manner. There is no reaction there, but now they want to show the president that they care more for him. When the statement that the person has made, they know fully well that they cannot prove it. Because of the statement, they can't say that it is a lie. There is a clear truth on that statement. And the man in question, you hear where he has his own orientation from America, being the citizen of America. So even the president himself knows that that statement cannot see the light of the day. Because if you go to court, how can you prove that that statement is a lie? There's no way you can prove that. They know that one. Why should they be wasting people's time? Let me stop here. Good morning.
All right, then. Thank you for your contribution. I'd like to also, I came across an information now. Some people think that the free education in Anambra State is only for indigent children, like people whose parents are from Anambra State. I'd like to point out that that's not true. Every child residing in Anambra, if you like, be from France, as long as you live here and you are of school age, please, the government owns schools. The education is free. So please take those kids off the streets and stop saying school is only for people from Anambra. It's for everyone living in Anambra. Get those kids registered in school, please. Good morning.
Just a wonderful morning to you.
Yes, good morning.
Lady of the house, Chisom Chinedu, Franklin and Olisa Mbeki, good morning.
You're welcome.
Honorable Dick, and I'm calling you from Onitsha. Let me just advise the DSS. They shouldn't turn to APC arm of which I don't know the arm I will call them now. Similar thing occurred, if you could recall, with Pat Otomi. And Pat Otomi, who said, I want to form a shadow government. DSS rose up from nowhere and begin to attack. Now, where is DSS? When the likes of Rufai said a statement that people will go in body bags. Here is the DSS when the late Muhammad Buhari made a statement and saying that the baboons is soaked in whatever. No, these are sensitive national issues that can divide and cause unrest in the country, not the other way around. Okay, and they must have to know that almost everything about the president of Nigeria is questionable. Almost everything about him. So it's not for them to stoop too low to turn to another, become like Jason Wike of former governor of Rivers State, FCT minister, singing the praises of what do you call him, President Bat all over the place. The President Bat traveled out, and you are telling us the world that there's nothing like corruption anymore in Nigeria. These things will tell you that what he's saying is the truth. The details of his educational background is not questionable. The issue of a lot of things about him is so controversial. Even away from that, are we free from corruption in Nigeria? Are we not fighting to turn Nigeria into one-party system? This is a well-respected institution, the DSA. That was why they were so much concerned to file a suit that the Kano cannot be moved out of their custody. That they have everything at his beck and call there. Who can have everything at his beck and call in detention, even when the court of competent jurisdiction have granted him bail, and you move against the court order? So this arm of APC called the DSS today, I think they must have everything, and they focus on sensitive issues. So, okay, look at the banditry in the north. What are they doing? They are negotiating with them, dialoguing with them, but yeah, you are jubilating that one central Yahoo being used by politicians is being apprehended. Yeah, it's good to apprehend them, and also jubilating over it to me. I think it must be practice. You couldn't wait until they secure those words before you apprehend. If you are proactive and serious and leave politics alone, you would have been able to track this guy and before executing the young men. So those commending them, I'm not part of them, and I want to say that Showere is the man of the people, and he's good by himself. If Meta or X or Facebook cannot lead that post, how could you say that what he has said is wrong? So, relevant agencies have looked at it and say, this man is not telling us the truth. That is why they couldn't delete the post.
You should be wrong enough
the
now.
other time that the President Muhammad Buhari, who has just passed on, made a post about a thought in a circle, doesn't give them delete it immediately. That's the president. When you're talking about a citizen without being a president, calling the sitting president the name, you call him a criminal, and you are there fighting tooth and nail and trying to go to court or leaving sensitive issues that you're supposed to do, and they are telling us that it's because of our which one race. Let them be called to order and face their business and leave political matters alone. And I believe they're not going to leave it alone because they have another arm of ABC. Thank you so much.
All right then, let's take one more call and head over to Facebook. Let's do this. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to Olisa Mbeki and Frank. This is the voice of my location. You are coming from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Mario.
Well, the apology from Uche Kunife is a welcome development. It's good that he told our way. And as well, I want to plead to the governor to as well told that same way, because there is nothing good than peace. And they still want to advise the governor, please, sir, you have something to campaign with. You have done something in Anambra State that wherever you go, you can campaign with it. Stop fighting with people. I don't make it nobody think you make campaign. That is my advice to the governor. Because if maybe he didn't do anything in Anambra State, maybe he can start going on with that kind of campaign. But he has something to say. You must not bring people out. Certificate or no certificate is not the matter. So I am advising the governor to as well apologize to her and go on with the good campaigns which we are looking for. Then on the side of Showere and the DSS, well, I don't know. The DSS we have in this country, they only get their intelligence whenever good thing is happening. But when the things that need that intelligence, you will find them nowhere. Why going to court with Showere so that it will be in the news that DSS is fighting? To me, Mr. Speaker, I said it's under jurisdiction. To me, I don't see their jurisdiction here. Whatever they told us that because of this, because of that, they made it themselves. in a real sense, this is the job of maybe the presidency or maybe people around the Mr. President.
All right, you should be rounding off. We pointed that out already.
Yes, I'm rounding out. I'm rounding up already. That is what I want to say on that. Thank you very much.
All right, then let's head over to Facebook.
Okay, so we'll begin with a post by Norbert Uchokoya. He says, if Governor Soludo was sure of irregularities in Okachukwu's educational certificate, isn't it better for him to conceal that and use it against him through court channel instead of using it to, okay, is it gossip at Market Square? Okay, so just a clarification, it wasn't actually about Okachukwu's certificate. It was about the running mate's PhD certificate. Then Patricia Amuche, thank you for watching. Ugochukwu Frank says that this is not new. Showere's entire career has been marked by incitement, noise, and reckless posturing. From failed protests that fizzled out to his constant hostility towards security institutions, Showore has thrived on creating chaos while offering no constructive solutions. And then Tino Ezobi, thank you for watching from Obosi. Nick Eze says, IPOB and the more powerful, who will confirm him as a member, not Gentle Yahoo. When he also died, it was IPOB and the Kano who confirmed him as a member. Gentle Yahoo also made a video where he said he's not ESN. Okay. God's Will Okoye says, I want to react to Gentle Yahoo. It's wrong to link Ifani as IPOB member with that clarification. Ikonso, his commander, died long time ago, so it's possible that politicians at Imo State or Simon Eba hijacked him where he worked for them, but not for IPOB. Secondly, DSS is a disgrace to Nigeria. They should have. Okay, they have no proof. Corruption is still ongoing in Nigeria. Soon they will show Nigeria's court the level of their. All right, whatever you think is the level of their whatever, I'm not going to say it with my mouth. Okay, so please while you are writing, so that you don't say we censor your post, while you are writing, is good you voice out how you feel or what you think, but the language must be decent enough and must be ethical. All right, then Mazingurechi Quadrum says Mr. Shore went in a very high esteem in making his statements and thereby insulting Mr. President, but also Mr. President should put a stop to those words or actions which may trigger the masses to use hate speeches against him. Governor Fubara accepting to resume office tomorrow is quite unfortunate for him because he can't issue statements nor take any action without involving his superiors. Advising to forget about the continuity of becoming River State governor because he has been handicapped by Wike and he made other things that I can't go on now to do because we're managing our time. Ugochukwu Frank says, good moves. We both don't support evil, even when our brothers or sisters are involved. But this handshake between the northern leaders and terrorists is one of the most corrupt systems in Nigeria. Mastope SJP says, okay, so this doesn't concern us. Which UB says, all this propaganda in our dear state Anambra, is it not laughable? Some of them are going overboard. My advice to them is that they should emulate Sawuli Obiano despite all the insult from his opposition. He kept mum. And this one says it's from Norbert Uchoko, is saying that he's happy that Soludo chose to play mature. He's saying Soludo should also know that those that live in glass house don't throw stones. Please, it's glass house. Okay. And then Comrade Henry Elu from Rich Market says, thus our governor actually if does our governor have an advisors if he says they need to resign because they have failed in their duties to advise him rightly. Okay, so he's saying that governor should not reduce himself to market women. Then Basil Ugu says we commend the army for successful operation that dismantled the camp of Gentle the Yahoo. It's a big relief to the people of Imo State, but let's be honest, this same energy is needed across all parts of Nigeria. Selective action is not justice. If government really wants peace and equity, it doesn't take forever. They can deploy the same intelligence and force everywhere, and also respect our court rulings, because without fairness and equal treatment, insecurity will keep recycling itself. Then Obina Williams Ramparisino Kata says, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed with the apologies issued by Senator Chekunife. I mean, our governor has been seen in different fora denigrating and blackmailing political opponents, causing nuisance like market women. And when we think that he has found Martin Iyom, everything just changed. For me, in muslinging, everything is fair. And other posts we can't acknowledge now. So thank you all for dropping your comments.
Tony, what were your last words?
I think I will advise Chowore, if he can amend that his post and remove that part he called Mr. President criminal and leave the post. I don't think the post itself has a problem, but the problem is the place he called Mr. President criminal. I remember Mr. President in 2011, just like I said, then as a major position figure, allegedly called the then President Goodluck Jonathan a drunkard and a sinking fisherman. He also made a similar statement in 2019 where he called Obasanjo expired meat. But he's now occupying President. Two wrongs, just like I said, cannot make right. And then for someone that said that DSS has no jurisdiction, they have locus. I think the word there is locus. It's not what you think, it's about what the law says. It's not what you think. They have locus. Since it is criminal defamation, they have locus to prosecute. So it's important to understand these two issues.
All right, thank you, Tony, for your wonderful analysis today.
Thank you so much.
What would
Thank
your
you so
last
much.
words be?
You know, since we have become Bosiabaka, I got Bosiabono. And on that very note, of course, I end today's conversation.
Thank you very much, Franklin. And definitely, the Polity is going to make a return tomorrow, 9:15 down to 11 a.m. Until then, do your best to be a Nigerian contributing to the growth and the emergence of the Nigeria you desire. My name is Chisom Chinedu. See you tomorrow.